Hello, and welcome to everyone for tuning into my session. And the topic of the session is Nine Peaks from Nepal to the World, in which I'll be talking about my experiences learning the languages in the past decade or so. So, first, I want to talk about the agenda. In the beginning, I'll be talking about myself, and like after that I'll be going one by one, like in the languages that I know. So first I'll be starting by English, and then I'll be talking in Nepali, followed by Japanese, Spanish, Portuguese, French, Hindi, Chinese, and then by Newari. And then after that I'll go into the conclusion, and finally I'll have some time for Q&A as well. So first, a bit about myself. My name is Anish Shrestha. I was born and lived in Nepal until high school. After I graduated from high school, I went to Japan. And first, I did my 1 year of intensive Japanese language course in Osaka. And after I completed that, I went to Tokyo to do my bachelor's and master's in computer engineering from Tokyo Tech. And after that, I worked as a software engineer in Tokyo for around 10 years. And I returned back to Nepal last year. And currently, I'm working in the tech industry in Nepal. And I'm studying languages as a hobby for more than a decade. And I've also put a simple table of the languages that I speak and the fluency in which I speak them. So for me, the languages that I speak with the highest level of fluency, which is like native or almost native, I would say, it's Nepalese, English, and Japanese. And below that, in advanced level, it's Spanish and Portuguese. And below that, at around intermediate level, it's French and Hindi. And below that, which is somewhere between beginners or like lower intermediate, it's Mandarin and Newari. So first, I'll just say about how I studied English or like how I learned English. So in the case of Nepal, at least in the capital Kathmandu, English is taught from kindergarten level in private schools. So basically, in my case, I grew up learning or speaking English mostly in school. So the education system of the private sector of Nepal is very similar to that of India. Hence, English is used as a language to teach all the subjects except Nepali, grammar, and literature. So the textbooks are mostly in English, but teachers speak, or at least used to speak when I was a student, in a combination of English and Nepali to teach. I know that it might sound a bit strange to those who did not grow up this way, but this was how it was like. So now I'll be talking in Nepali a bit, and then I'll be like speaking a bit in English in the middle as well, just to make sure that the viewers don't get lost. So नेपाली नेपालको राष्ट्रिय भाषा हो र भारतका केही राज्यहरूमा पनि आधिकारिक भाषा हो. So Nepali is the national language of Nepal and also the official language in some states in India. नेपाली भाषा देवनागरी लिपि प्रयोग गरेर लेखिन्छ, जुन हिन्दीको लागि पनि प्रयोग गरिन्छ. Nepali is written using the Devanagari script, which is also used for Hindi. नेपाली संस्कृतबाट व्युत्पन्न भाषा हो. मैले नेपाली व्याकरण साहित्यको बारेमा धेरै जसो विद्यालयमा सिकेँ. र म प्राय नेपाली चाहिँ मेरो साथीहरू र सहकर्मीहरूसँग प्रयोग गर्छु. So Nepali is derived from Sanskrit, and I learned about Nepali grammar and literature mostly at school, and I use Nepali mostly with my Nepalese friends and colleagues. じゃあ今から日本語について話します。私の場合はですね、高校まではネパールにいまして、で、高校卒業してから2006年ですね、に初めて日本に来ました。で、日本に行ってですね、日本の大阪の大阪外大で1年間日本語の勉強しました。So after moving to Japan in 2006, I studied Japanese for 1 year in Osaka. で、その後ですね、上京して東京工業大学で学部と修士を卒業しました。で、大学ではですね、コンピューターサイエンスを勉強しまして、 授業はほとんど全てが日本語で実施されていました。So after studying Japanese in Osaka, I moved to Tokyo, and I did my undergrad and master's from Tokyo Tech. So I studied computer science at universities, and almost all of my classes of engineering were conducted in Japanese. そうですね。なんで、特に、1年目はですね、毎日大学からアパートに帰ってから、授業内容をもう一度自分で英語で復習してました。So, especially in the first year, after returning from the university, like to my apartment every day, I reviewed the contents of the classes again in English because my level of Japanese was still not that good, like until that time. で、東京で就職して、最初の会社でですね、日本語をメインに使ってまして、現在もですね、ネパールのその仕事、それは主にオフショア会社なんですけれども、で、逆が日本の企業であるため、日本語を使う機会があります。So at the first company that I got a job in Tokyo, I mainly used Japanese. So I would say that it was around 80 to 90% Japanese, and the rest, like 10 to 20%, was in English. And I came back to Nepal last year, and currently I'm working in a tech field. So like it's a software company that does offshore development for companies in Japan. So because of that, I still have opportunities to use Japanese language because my clients are Japanese companies. Y bueno, ahora voy a hablar en español, aprender español. Bueno, en el equipo de fútbol cuando estaba en la universidad en Japón, y la mayoría de los jugadores eran de países sudamericanos y el español era como la lengua franca del equipo. So I played on a soccer team when I was at the university in Japan, and most of the players they were from South America, and Spanish was kind of like the lingua franca of the team. Y bueno, el español fue la primera lengua romance que yo estudié, así que tuve que aprender una nueva forma de pensar. Especialmente yo digo que el modo subjuntivo, que no se usa mucho en inglés, es muy común en el caso de español. So Spanish was the first Romance language that I studied, so I had to learn a new way to think. And especially I would say that the moods, the subjunctive mood, which is not used that much in the case of English, is very common in the case of Spanish. Y encontrar a una persona que habla español no es tan fácil cuando una persona vive en Japón. Entonces, lo que yo hice es, además de tratar de sumergirme en ambientes de habla hispana, yo también estaba leyendo todo lo posible en español. So, finding a person who speaks Spanish is not so easy when you're living in Japan. In addition to trying to immerse myself in Spanish-speaking environments, I was also reading as much as possible the contents in Spanish. So here is one of the tools that I use a lot when I was learning Spanish. So the name of this tool is called Language Reactor, and they also have an extension in Google Chrome for Netflix and for YouTube. So I think that this will definitely be useful for you, like if you're learning Spanish or like most of the languages, I would say. So this is definitely something that you might want to check out. So here, I'll just show like what's happening in the screen. So there's this thing that I've marked in red box. So it's a verb form TNN. So if you click on it, it opens a dialog box, and if you click on this text called WR, which is the shortcut for word reference, it opens again a new dialog box for word reference, and it shows the root form of the word there. And there you can click on this conjugation, which is this, and it shows the like the table of the conjugation there of the verb. So it's a really a compact way of learning a language, I would say. And next, agora vou falar sobre o português, né? Então, no mesmo time de futebol que eu estava falando, havia alguns jogadores do Brasil também. E à medida que meu nível de espanhol melhorou, e eu comecei a perceber que também consegui entender mais ou menos conversas em português. So in the same football team, there were players from Brazil as well. And as my level of Spanish improved, I started to notice that I could also understand more or less conversation in Portuguese. E além disso, eu adoro ouvir as músicas do Bossa Nova porque eu acho muitas melódicas, né? Eu sempre quero entender o significado das letras. And also, in terms of music, I really love listening to Bossa Nova songs because I find them really melodic and I always want to understand the meaning of the lyrics. Como há menos falantes de português do que falantes do espanhol, ao menos no meu círculo, é mais difícil encontrar situações em que você possa praticar o idioma, né? And so, since there are fewer Portuguese speakers than Spanish speakers in my circle, it was hard to find situations where you can practice the language. Como as duas línguas, espanhol e português, são muito parecidas, é muito fácil confundir e misturar as palavras, né? E acabar falando português. And as the two languages are very similar, it's very easy to confuse and mix up those words and end up speaking portunhol. Então, no meu caso, nos primeiros dias, pratiquei principalmente falar com meus amigos brasileiros na universidade e no time de futebol. So, in the first few days, I practiced mainly talking to my Brazilian friends at the university and also on the football team. Et donc, maintenant, je vais parler sur français. Je suivi des cours d'initiation au français à l'université. Et quand j'ai commencé à apprendre le français, je connaissais déjà l'espagnol et le portugais dans certaines mesures. Et par conséquent, j'avais déjà une compréhension du fonctionnement de langue romaine. So I took introductory French courses at the university. And when I started learning French, I already knew Spanish and Portuguese to some extent. So I already had an understanding of how Romance languages work. Et la prononciation du français peut être assez délicate et à cause de règles comme la lésion. And so the pronunciation of French compared to Spanish and Portuguese can be quite tricky because of rules such as lésion. Et j'ai des sessions d'échange linguistique et en ligne avec des personnes dans la langue maternelle et le français. So I have online language exchange sessions with people whose native language is French, so that I can keep on practicing and then improving my level of French. So here I have 3 tables in which I compare, and I also show the similarities between Spanish and Portuguese and French, so that people can have an idea or like an similarities between the 3 languages. For example, here I have the mood for indicativo, indicative in red box, and subjunctive in yellow box, and imperative in a blue box. So as you can see, the thought process is very, very similar for the Romance language. So if you already know one Romance language, chances are that you will find it comparatively easier to master another one. So now I'm gonna talk a bit about Hindi. So नेपाल का पूर्व पश्चिम और दक्षिण में भारत की सीमा है और इसलिए नेपाल की संस्कृति भारत से काफ़ी प्रभावित है। हिंदी गाने सुनना, बॉलीवुड फिल्में, नाटक देखना काठमांडू में रहने का एक हिस्सा ही है। So Nepal borders India on the east, west, and south, and hence the culture of Nepal is heavily influenced by that of India. Listening to Hindi songs, watching Bollywood movies, dramas are a part of living in Kathmandu. और नेपाली और हिंदी दोनों भाषाएं लिखने के लिए देवनागरी लिपि का उपयोग करते हैं। दोनों भाषाएं काफ़ी समान हैं और नेपाली लोग दैनिक आधार पर हिंदी भाषा के संपर्क में हैं। इसलिए हम नेपाली लोग हिंदी को अच्छी मैं कहता हूँ कि मध्यवर्ती स्तर तक में समझ और बोल सकते हैं। So both Nepali and Hindi language use Devanagari script for writing. And since the two languages are quite similar, And since Nepali people are exposed to Hindi language on a daily basis, we can understand and Hindi reasonably well, intermediate level. So again, this is the tool that I was talking about earlier. This time I've used the tool to show how it can be used to learn Hindi. So here I put Hindi as the main subtitle and English as the second subtitle. So basically, you can click on the words as well and get the meaning real time in English. So really handy if you're planning to learn Hindi. 我要说的中文，要说中指普通话，讲你知道大约，25003500个支付。对于每个汉字，我们需要理解，如何打这并不容易。So to speak intermediate Mandarin, it is recommended to know about 2500 to 3500 characters. And for each Chinese character, we need to understand how to write and read it, which is not that easy. 汉语是一个冲到语言，所以我们必须使用正确的声调发音。Chinese is a tonal language, so we must use correct tone pronunciations. 日语和汉语的声音就数字的写法是一样的。So there's quite a lot of similarities between Japanese and Chinese. For example, the way of writing numbers is just the same. Ruhe. So if you look at the left part of the slide, it's how to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in English. And if you look at Japanese and Chinese, they're basically the same. And these are the books that I use to learn Chinese. The one on the left is Modern Mandarin, Chinese Grammar, and the one on the right, actually, it's a table which shows the pinyin chart with the audio of Chinese. And here again, the same tool that I was talking about, Language Reactor, this time to learn Chinese. So basically, you have the Chinese characters and its pinyin at the top, and you have the meaning of the sentence in English. And if you click on it, you get a separate dialog box where you can go deeper and deeper to understand more about that particular Chinese character. And so now I'm going to talk about Newari. So before delving into Newari, I want to tell that it is a language. It is not a national language, but it is an ethnic language spoken by the Newar ethnic groups of Nepal. And I've written that as a disclaimer as well. So although I can speak Newari to a reasonable intermediate level, I do not know how to read and write properly in Newari, because technically Newari uses a different script, which is the Ranjana script. And hence, this slide is only in English. And hopefully I'll learn the script, which is called Ranjana. And hopefully I'll be able to read and write in the future in Ranjana script. So a bit about Newari. It is a Sino-Tibetan language spoken by the Newar people of Nepal. And Newari is also known as Nepal Bhasa or Newar. And I use Newari besides Nepalese when talking to my parents and relatives. My Newari is not that fluent, so I have to compensate for the lack of Newari vocabulary with Nepalese words. Okay, so I'm gonna say the same thing, Newari, like just so that you can have an like have an image of how it sounds like. So Newar चाहिँ वो नेपाली नेवापी न खलाउ वो सिनो टिबेटन भाग ह अहिले वो नेवा भाटा चाहिँ नेपाल भाषामा दाइ नेवा भ्यान दाइ अहिले जिउ के जी चाहिँ जिउ छे जिमी बा बामा बा अब खला बोले चाहिँ जी नेवारी वो नेपाली भाजी खलाना अहिले जिउ नेवारी चाहिँ उला उनी बामला एजुया चाहिँ जी नेवा ल्यापले जी नेपाली यु शब्द न प्रयोगमा. So this is how it sounds like. And here I've added the tables the diagrams to show the vowels and consonants and the numerals, how they are written in the case of Newari. So here, if you look a bit, like zoom a bit more, if you know, like this word, yeah, thanks, Sonia. So this pronunciation in English, like e, u, a, o, So basically, Newari has 12 vowels, and the one on the right is consonants. So again, like ga, ka, ga, ga, nga, cha, cha, ja, cha, ya. So those are how the consonant sounds like. So the one on the middle is the English, so K. So the one on the right is how it's written in Nepali, in Devanagari script, and the one that's in the bigger font, that's how it is written in Ranjana script. So as you can see, there's a bit of similarity, but they're like quite different. So yeah, you have to treat it as a different language or as a different script if you want to get better at it. And on the bottom there's the numerals. So that's how, like, 0 to 9 is written in Newari. Again, the one in the middle, it's how it's written in English, and the one in the right, it's how it's written in Nepali, and the one on the left, which is comparatively bigger fonts, it is how it's written in Newari. And just in case if some of you are interested, I've also added some Wikipedia links so that you guys can know more about the language. So finally, I want to go to the conclusion. So based on my experience as a hobby of learning languages for more than a decade, I say that language is a window to the culture of the society, and learning languages enables you to access important aspects of the culture of a place, such as literature and music, and it also helps you to have a different perspective to things and enhance your ability to communicate effectively across different culture and linguistic boundaries. And I want to finish my presentation by mentioning two quotes by two people that I admire a lot. So the first one is Nelson Mandela, and he says, if you talk to a person, if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his own language, that goes to his heart. And the second one is by Haruki Murakami. Learning a new language is becoming a new person. So that brings an end to my presentation. Thanks a lot for your attention. Okay, so now I will go to the questions. So first one is, what online language exchange tools do you use to practice your languages? So there was this tool called Preply, Preply. I use that, and then like apart from that, I have friends like who are natives of some other languages, so we just discuss and plan. Like let's say if it's a time of 1 hour, then I teach him or her a language that they want to learn, and in return they teach me a language, or like we have conversations in a language that I want to get better at. So I hope that helps. Okay. Is the language system similar in public education? Is this private education expensive? Is this a big part of the schools? Um, is the language system similar in public education? Well, I think that in the case of Nepal, in the public education, so when I'm talking about public education, I'm talking about the government schools in Nepal. So I think it's a bit different in the sense that in government schools, like Nepali is the main language that is used for teaching. So what I mean by that is that in the case of private schools, like English is a language that is used for everything, right? For maths, physics, chemistry, science, like so in the case of Nepali, it's Nepali that is used. Sorry, like in the case of government schools, it is Nepali that is used. So like you study English only when you're doing English grammar or English literature. So I think that's a big difference. Y bueno, la siguiente pregunta es de Patrick Espinosa. Para un hablante nativo de español que necesitaría cambiar de mi forma de pensar para aprender japonés. So first, I'm gonna translate it to English. So what Patrick is asking is that for a native speaker of Spanish, what does what do I have to change in my thought of process, or like thinking process, in order to learn Japanese? Well, Patrick, I said that because of the fact that Spanish and Japanese are quite different languages, like even in terms of the language tree. I would say that like not trying to translate like everything, I think really helps, in the sense that like in the beginning it will be difficult, but I think that like if you instead of translating everything to Spanish, or like everything to a native language, like it really forces you to think really deeply in that in your target language, which will be helpful maybe after, let's say, 6 months or 1 year, like down the line. So I think, yeah, like really, trying hard to think in your target language is something that I would have done. And the next one is by Patrick as well. Would it be easier for you to learn Korean if you already know Japanese, or would it be as hard as learning Korean from Spanish? Well, to be honest, I've never tried to learn Korean, but having said that, I've heard that Korean is very similar to Japanese, and also like I've heard that like Korean people, they can learn Japanese like comparatively easier compared to the rest because of the linguistic similarities. So I guess, yeah. I mean, because of the fact that I already know Japanese, if I were to learn Korean, I think that it would be easier for me. So going to the next question, can you read the 21 vowels in Newari? Reading is very difficult for me. I mean, I can try, but I'm not sure if I can like if I can like read them with 100% accuracy. Barbara, it is a very interesting talk. Thank you, Barbara. I'm so impressed by pronunciation in particular. I've also learned Spanish, Portuguese, Japanese, and French, but the pronunciation is so much better than mine. Do you do lots of listening? First of all, thanks a lot for the kind words, Barbara. I think that I mean, yeah, I do like try to listen very attentively, so that I try to like be as close to the original pronunciation as possible. I mean, obviously like it's not like 100% possible, but I try to like be my best, I would say that. And I also think that because of the fact that my first language, I mean, was when I was growing up, it was Nepali and English, I would say that. So I would say that because like Nepali has more sounds, let's say, compared to Japanese, for example, right? If like if there's someone who understands Japanese in this session, then they can understand. Like what I'm trying to say is that in Japanese we have five vowels. We have a, I, u, e, o. So basically five vowels. In the case of Nepali, we have 12 vowels. O, a, I, u, e, I, o, a. So what I'm trying to say is that because there's like more granular way in which your tongue has to adapt since you were a kid. So I think that like gives you like more flexibility to your tongue, so which in turn helps to like to pronounce more clearly. That's what I think, at least. Imagine it's like doing more variations for your tongue, like something like a tongue yoga, something. So I hope that that helps, Barbara. Patrick, your pronunciation in Roman languages is outstanding. Do you have the same level in writing as well? Thanks a lot, Patrick. Uh, I well, in the case of Spanish and Portuguese, I would say that yes. I mean, like I would say that it's quite high. Uh, but having said that, like it's not the same level as my English or Japanese yet. French, I would say that I think that I've shared in the first table as well, that I had shared. My level of French is not quite the level of my Spanish and Portuguese, but it's still like intermediate, or like upper intermediate, I would say. Okay, that was by Sonia. Can you please can you please tell us the tool again? Use, and I couldn't grasp. Sure. For language reactor, and they have tools, or like they have extensions for Google Chrome, and it's really useful. And those extensions, you can use for like to watch Netflix, and also to watch YouTube videos. But I would recommend you to use it like more when you're watching Netflix, because
like Netflix contents have more human generated subtitles, which means that they are more like they are more accurate. And especially, like when let's say that when you're watching something in Japanese or something Chinese, in which, like, even if you see the character, unless you don't know the, like, don't know how it is pronounced, it's very difficult to search, right, in the dictionary. I mean, I'm sure that many people have the same like opinion like me, because that's the biggest issue that I faced when I was learning Japanese, I would say. So what you can do is that, you can put the first language as Chinese or Japanese, and you can put the second language as English, and then, like, what it'll do is that it'll show two languages simultaneously. Actually, it's more than two. In the case of Japanese, it'll show the kanji, and it'll also show like how the kanjis are read. Like, it'll also show the hiragana or the English. So that really speeds up the whole learning process, I think. So okay, guys. Thanks a lot for your attention, and I hope that you learned something interesting, something useful. And yeah, please feel free to contact me. Like, I'll be more than happy to help in any way that I can. So again, I've left my Instagram handle at the beginning of the slide. So it's ANISHMAN. Okay, thank you, Sonia. So I'll just go to the first slide. So yeah, so that's my Insta handle. So if anyone wants to contact me or like ask me any questions about something that I know, I'd be more than happy to help. So cheers everyone, and thanks a lot to Sonia as well. Cheers.